What's up, everybody? This is Jake Kent once again. Now, today's video, I wanted to talk about a subject that came from a viewer's comment, right? That said, have you ever been called out in public for wearing a system? Now, I feel like this deserved its own video because while this question is pretty simple, and SE23 here is asking me if people can notice, there's some deeper things to this question that I think I wouldn't be doing you a service if I didn't address them. Okay? So I want to tell you the first point, and I want to illustrate it, right? So the first point is that no one expects perfection. When I grew up as a musician. I grew up at age 13. I picked up my first guitar and I started playing like 5 hours a day. Immediately after I started playing, I started recording music. I started writing songs. I started performing live in front of people all the time. And I always had this thing that I never wanted to mess up. I never wanted to mess up one note. And if I did, while I was practicing, I would start the song completely over. I would just start it from scratch because there was no way that I was ever going to make one mistake, ever. So I started playing live, right? And unfortunately, often I would make a small mistake in parts of my songs, right? Like I would accidentally hit the wrong string, which it just happens sometimes, and it actually adds a human element to the music. And I would just be fixated as I'm still playing the performance, as I'm still strumming along to people and singing and thinking about that one moment. And instead of giving my presence and my charisma to the crowd, I was now fixating on this one moment that was in the past. And after the performance was done, I'd get down and I would talk with my friends and I'd ask, hey, like, man, what did you think of that one song? Like, it was pretty bad, right? Like, it was pretty bad, right? They're like, well, you made a mistake? And we didn't hear a mistake. And I was like, really? And for many years, well, to this day, I still struggle with believing people when they say that they don't notice my mistakes, right? Because I expect perfection. No one expects perfection from you or me, and no one is looking for perfection from you or me. Now, this brings us to something deeper, right? This brings us to imposter syndrome, which, let's be honest here, we're wearing hair systems, and we feel potentially sometimes like it's not our hair. But here's the thing. You and I are most cognizant of our system. You and I are most cognizant of the smallest of details. We run our hands through our hair and feel the smallest of imperfections in the hairline, or there might be a little piece coming up in the back. No one else notices these things. Perhaps maybe even like the most trained eye as you're going about your day may notice. But I would be hesitant to even say that. What I would say is that no one really cares about you and your system. And I don't mean that to demean you, but I mean it to say that people are in their own heads. They're living and they're breathing and they're thinking and they're going about their life, right? And they're not looking at that one thing about you. They're not looking at your hairline. Most people, when they're looking at you, guess what they're looking at? They're looking at your eyes. Or other people who can't hear you well or have problems with hearing, look at your lips. Some people will look at your hair, but they're not going to analyze every single fraction of your hair and not your hairline. And we get so fixated on it and feel like an imposter when really no one cares. No one cares except us. And here's the second part of that, right? That if we are fixated on this hairline right here and it being perfect, and if we think people think it looks real or fake or anything like that, we're completely missing the point about why we're wearing a hair system, which is to give ourselves more confidence, which is in turn to make ourselves better for other people, which in turn is supposed to allow us to be better people, be more present, be more charismatic, be more better leaders for other people. And yeah, that sounds deep and hypothetical, but like there's some truth to it. And I encourage you, if you've never thought about it in that way, think about it. Like, how can you be present for other people? How can you lead people better? How can I give my best if I'm fixated on myself and my hairline? And it sounds like I'm getting passionate about this, because I am. I'm passionate about working with men and women, but men specifically, around these topics. Now, the second thing is, listen, your hairline might not be perfect. Your system might not be perfect. Your cut-in might not be perfect. Your install might not be perfect. There might be so many things that are not perfect. But guess what? I see way too many people giving up 90% of success, 90% of what they want, simply because of 10% of imperfection. They would rather be perfect. They would rather start something 2 years from now and have it be perfect the first time than to take their first 10 stabs in the next 10 days and be perfect within 2 weeks and be on their way to success in whatever it is. Why is that? That's so crazy, right? And it prevents us from having what we want, from being happy, from being fulfilled. And I would hate to see myself, just because something is a little bit imperfect, to not try to move forward. And that's not what leaders do, guys. That's not what leaders do. We take deliberate risks, we try things out, and we move forward. Some things might not work out, and some things we may say, hey, this doesn't work for me, and that's okay. That's okay too. But we try to work with things. We try to make them better. We even try to take what's out there, what isn't working, and we try to improve and innovate and create something that is better for the rest of the world to use. Everything around us in this world was created out of people's imaginations, including hair systems and including bonds and all of those things. But everything in this world, bridges, cities, the camera I'm recording this on, the iPhones, video game systems, everything, YouTube, was all from someone's imagination, and all of them have iteratively been better because people started. So if I can just encourage you to have fun with this journey, to take a risk, to go out, and if you're called to this, if you're called to try hair systems, if you feel like you need that for your confidence, go out and try. Don't worry about figuring out all the details. Don't try to be perfect your first time out. Don't worry if it's the exact right hairline, or if you need a poly or a Swiss lace with a freaking border thing or something like that. Just go out there and try it. Learn a little bit, go out there, try it, learn, repeat, adapt, try. None of that made sense, but whatever. Listen, we're in this together. I care a lot, and I want to make sure that as men, as leaders, men and women, but as leaders, we're moving forward, making the world a better place, making sure that we're better every single day on every single front, both in our psychology, our spirituality, our emotionality, our sexuality, our relationships, everything. So, with that being said, talk to you soon.